Hey everyone, welcome. You hear these words thrown around all the time, right? AI, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. But what do they actually mean? And more importantly, how do they all fit together? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers and really understand what's going on under the hood.
Okay, so this chart right here, this is going to be our map for the journey. The best way to think about it is like one of those Russian nesting dolls. You've got the biggest doll on the outside, and each new concept is just a smaller doll that fits perfectly inside the one before it. We're going to open them up one by one. So, here's the plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the main AI umbrella. Then we'll dive into the engine room to see how these things actually learn. After that, we'll get into the really cool stuff, the creative revolution with generative AI. And finally, we'll peek into the future and talk about where this is all headed, an agentic AI. First up, let's start with the biggest doll in the set. This is the foundational concept, the big idea that kicked this whole technological revolution off in the first place. Artificial intelligence, or just AI. This is the entire universe of the field. It's the ultimate goal, the grand ambition, creating machines that can think, reason, and act in ways we'd consider intelligent. And it's not just one single technology, right? It's this huge, sprawling branch of computer science. And because it's so massive, it covers a ton of different stuff. I mean, you've got everything from smart robots on a factory floor to the speech recognition that lets you talk to your phone, and even the super important field of AI ethics, which asks, hey, how should we actually use all this powerful tech responsibly? It's all part of this vast landscape. Okay, so that raises a really important question. If AI is this grand destination, what's the car that actually gets us there? For a long, long time, that was the million-dollar question. And the answer, well, it pretty much changed everything. All right, time to dive into the engine room. Let's pop the hood and take a look at the layers that are really powering the modern AI we use every single day. And this is it, machine learning. So here's the big idea. Instead of a programmer sitting down and writing millions of if this, then that rules, we just feed the computer a whole lot of data and let it figure out the patterns for itself. It's a huge shift from programming to teaching. The real breakthrough, the aha moment, was realizing that the explosion of data from the internet finally gave us enough raw material to teach a machine at an incredible scale. So these are some of the classic tools in the toolbox. Things like decision trees, which help an AI make choices, or linear regression that helps it spot trends. These are the fundamental building blocks that let a machine classify information and make predictions. Okay, so spotting basic patterns in a spreadsheet, that's one thing. But how do you teach a machine to do something we do without even thinking, like spotting a cat in a picture? That's way more complex. We needed a totally new kind of structure for that. And that's where neural networks come in. This is a really cool approach inside machine learning that's basically inspired by our own brains. It uses layers of these interconnected digital neurons that pass signals to each other. This structure allows the system to learn much, much more complex and abstract patterns than before. So if a regular neural network is like a small cluster of brain cells, deep learning is, well, it's like the whole brain. It really just means using these neural networks, but with many, many layers, a really deep stack of them. And this is where stuff gets really wild. That depth is what allows an AI to go from seeing a bunch of pixels to understanding that's a cat chasing a ball. This is the engine behind everything from your phone's camera to advanced medical imaging. And within deep learning, you've got these super specialized tools. Architectures like CNNs, for example, are basically the eyes of the AI. They're masters at recognizing images. And then you have a more recent invention called transformers, which have completely changed the game for how machines understand and speak human language. Okay, so let's put this all together really fast. The big goal is AI. The main way we do that today is with machine learning. A key structure for that is the neural network, and when you make those networks huge, that's deep learning. You see how it's all a funnel, each step getting more specific? All right, so these systems are incredible at understanding stuff. They can see, they can hear, they can read. But you know what? That's only half the story. The next giant leap forward wasn't just about understanding, it was about creating. And that, of course, brings us to the layer that has completely taken over the conversation these last few years, generative AI. So what is generative AI? It's a special kind of deep learning that doesn't just analyze stuff that already exists. It makes brand new original stuff from scratch. And this is a massive shift. The AI isn't just a critic anymore, it's an artist, it's a writer, it's a coder. It can compose a song or paint a picture because it's learned the deep patterns of human creativity itself. And these are the engines that make all that magic happen. You've got large language models, LLMs, which are the brains behind the chatbots you talk to. You have diffusion models, which are the magic behind those incredible AI image generators. And then there's this clever technique called RLHF, which is basically where humans give the AI feedback, kind of like a coach, to teach it to be more helpful and safer. So just think about that for a second. It's incredible. We've built AIs that can learn about the world and AIs that can create new things in it. So where do we go from here? What happens when you put those two things together and give the AI a goal? And this leads us to the very last layer on our map, the stuff that's really on the cutting edge right now. AI that doesn't just respond to you, but actually acts for you. This is what people are calling agentic AI. And with agentic AI, the whole game changes. You stop giving it commands, and you start giving it goals. So instead of asking it to write me an email to book a flight, you could just say, plan my entire vacation to Italy. And the AI agent would then figure out all the steps, booking flights, finding hotels, planning activities, and do it all on its own.
What this means is that an agentic system can actually think for itself. It can reason, it can use tools like your web browser or a calculator, and it can automate entire workflows to get a job done. It's all about giving AI the autonomy to execute complex tasks for us.
And just like that, we're back where we started, looking at our map. But now, hopefully, it all makes sense. It all starts with that big, overarching dream of artificial intelligence. That dream gets powered by machine learning, which is structured like a neural network, which gets scaled up with deep learning, which gets a creative voice through generative AI, and is now getting the ability to act with agentic AI. See? Every layer builds on the last one. So there you have it. That's our journey from a broad concept to systems that can learn, create, and now start to act. This shift from a passive tool to an active agent leaves us with one heck of a question. As these AIs start actually doing things for us, what kind of world is that going to create? What does that unlock for our jobs, for our creativity, and for our future? The next chapter is just getting started.